What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for everyone that reached out to me yesterday and congratulating me on my new job, my new position. It is quite a blessing, quite a relief, to be able to rake in some extra dinero for my family, right? That feels good. So I definitely appreciate it. And yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit today just about my kratom taper, where it's at, and one aspect of tapering that a lot of people don't talk about. And it goes like this. What if your taper from kratom is not perfectly linear, right? Where you start up here and you say, well, let's say just for argument's sake, you're taking 40 grams per day, right? And the idea of a linear taper is such that, okay, you're taking 40 grams a day here. After about a week and a half, you're taking 39 grams. Another week and a half, you're taking 38 grams. Another week and a half on the 38 grams, you knock it down to 37. It's the idea that you're slowly, with time, as your body adjusts to each new amount, you're slowly decreasing the amount that your body itself is dependent and physically dependent upon, right? Because we know the amount of withdrawals that you have is in exact parallel with how dependent and how much are you dependent on a daily, regular use sort of basis with kratom, right? If you're a person that doesn't take it, but once every few days, whatever the case is, you probably haven't even developed a dependence. If you're spending more than 50% of your waking hours not on kratom, then I'm probably not talking to you, because in your case, you've probably never become physically dependent upon kratom, meaning when you go to stop, you shouldn't have any serious physical withdrawals, any real sickness, what they call dope sickness. You shouldn't really have any of that, right? But then for the rest of us who have gotten in a sort of relationship with kratom where we've gotten to where we used it almost as like a maintenance substance, where we started using it every day, multiple times per day, 3-4 times per day. Now, I mention my wife a lot on here because she's a rarity in the sense that my wife will use kratom, but she only uses it once a day. She'll use it in the morning, and then she doesn't come back and take more kratom later on. I've never noticed any physical dependence in her, and she's never noticed it either. And she has, a few times when she went out of town, whatever, just didn't even take kratom with her and didn't use any kratom while she was out of town, and she's never noticed. She's never had a night where I don't know what's going on. I'm not sleeping. I'm having this strange, uncomfortable feeling. I've been having restless legs. I've been, because a lot of people, if it's their first time to the rodeo of having been physically dependent on something that is like an opiate, a lot of times when those initial withdrawal symptoms start to happen, people are dumbfounded. They've never experienced it before. They don't have any past experience with opiate withdrawal to tie that to, right? So they're just like, I don't know what's going on, a bunch of question marks going on. I got this weird feeling, a lot of people don't even realize you're going through opiate withdrawal. That's what you're doing. That's what's happening right now, right? I'm all too familiar with it. I know what it is. I've come to actually anticipate it because I'm a person who takes it every day, multiple times per day. My wife is a rare case where she does use it, but she doesn't use it to the point where she's never lost a night's sleep over it by not taking up to a certain amount. All right. That's a rarity. I think most people that use it are probably in some kind of consistent recyclable use pattern with kratom, right? Meaning you do it not only daily, but you're coming back to it multiple times daily, right? So if that's you, then when you go to taper, it is going to be difficult for it to be a complete linear process that never changes. And I want to tell you, I've tapered a couple of times now, a few times, a couple of times, well, at least once, all the way. Well, yeah, I've quit more than once, but one time that I quit actually did a slow taper. Wasn't that bad. If you have the discipline for it and you're wanting to quit something like Kratom, trust me, slow taper is the way to go if you're looking to minimize the discomfort and minimize the disruption to your life as much as possible, right? That's the way to go. The problem is some people, especially people who have substance abuse issues, one of our, that's not one of our strengths, right? Self-discipline is not always one of our strengths. Some of us are a little better than others. Some of us are a little worse than others. But, self-discipline is an issue for anybody, not just drug addicts. So let me be clear about that. But, there's people out there that have never sniffed a drug problem, but have a lot of trouble with self-discipline, and they you can look at them. They're 40, some of them 40, 50 pounds overweight. That person may not be a drug addict, but you can't tell me that person doesn't struggle with self-discipline, right? Self-discipline is something that is not just unique to people who are drug addicted, right? Self-discipline is a human issue, okay? And is very well what it means to be human. Why do this hard thing that requires me to be uncomfortable when I can just sit back on the couch and just look at Facebook? That's easy. Every once in a while, I get a little cramp in my thumb, from commenting on Instagram so much. That lasts a couple of minutes, and that makes me feel really sad. But, why would I go do this hard thing and go out and lose a bunch of weight and, deny myself of the foods that I really like the taste of, and then go out and jog and exercise and try to lose some weight and eat healthier? Why would I do all that when it's so much easier to just go home, pull out a bag of chips, sit on the couch, and get on TikTok all night? Or sit and play video games all night, right? Self-discipline is a big problem, not just with drug addicts, but with everybody. So I don't want to belittle that, but I don't want to belittle that fact, but it is absolutely true that, people who, that is an area of self-discipline that is on another level, because it's tied to this physical dependence. It's tied to this idea that you don't feel at your best physically or mentally when you go to change this behavior, this drug addictive behavior, right? And your body struggles with it. Your body struggles with it. Your mind struggles with it, because your body and your mind both have become dependent and hooked to this substance, right? You need this to feel good. So then when you go stop, and there's even some discomfort with tapering slowly, but so a lot of people say, back to the point, a lot of people will say, well, I can't do the slow taper, I don't have enough discipline, it's too easy for me, and I'm not saying me specifically, but this is from a third party perspective. This is what people are saying. People are saying, well, hey, it's too easy for me just to take extra one day when I've had a rough day, or I had a rough go of it, or something a little different in my schedule happens, or I have to go somewhere where I have to be sociable with people or whatever. It's too easy for me just to updose. Well, I know I'm on a taper and I'm down to 15 grams a day, but just today I'm going to take 30 grams. And just tomorrow I'm going to take 30 grams. You know what I'm talking about. And I've done it. And that's why I want to talk about this, because whether you're looking just to maintain a better, healthier, more balanced relationship with something like Kratom, or you're looking to come off of it altogether, just understand that coming off of or tapering is not always a completely linear process. And as drug addicted individuals, especially to something that is similar to an opiate, it is very, very, very difficult. Very difficult. I would say 98 to 99% of people have a little bit of this. going on during the taper. You do that, and then you go up here for a minute, and you bender, and then you binge for a few days, and then you go back down, and then you start to cut it down again. I just want to say to you out there, no, it's not the best way to go about it. If you want to completely get off of it, you're going to be best off sticking with your doses and just, you could cut a potential 6-month taper into 3 months if you'll just stay disciplined. Just stay disciplined and don't allow yourself to go over a certain amount, and don't allow yourself excuses. Be strong with yourself. Be stern with yourself. When your self starts to say, you know what, self, I've done really well, and it would really be a lot better for me today. I would feel a lot better if I could just take them. Be okay with telling yourself no. And I've had to have that tough conversation with myself several times throughout this process. But what I want to say to you is, it's best not to give in, but if you do, that's not the end of you. And it doesn't have to be the end of your taper. And I think that's where a lot of people get it wrong. They go, they're doing this, they're doing well, and then they have a day or 2 days or a few days even where they go a little hard in the paint. They're like, they have a weak moment. They end up on a weekend. Weekends are a trigger for me. On the weekend, sometimes taking a little more, whatever. But I have found for myself personally, there is a line and or a limit that as long as I don't really go past this certain point for this period of time, it doesn't seem to be too difficult to get back on your taper where you left off and keep going, right? Because your body, I want to talk about not just dependency, but your body has degrees of dependency, right? Your body can be dependent on 20 grams per day. Your body can be dependent on 30 grams per day, right? And if you take somebody who's dependent upon 30 grams per day and you try to give them this person over here's usual 20 grams per day, this person's going to have that much withdrawal. There's going to be that much of a gap there in what their body is used to and what they're actually taking. So that person who's used to 30 grams, when they take 20 grams just right out of the gate, that's going to be tough for them. There's a degree to dependency, right? And it's no different when you go to cut down the amounts that you're taking, right? That's why you got to make it little by little by little by little by little. But if you've been tapering and your body for the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, have been used to, let's just say for argument's sake, you're down to the 14, 15 gram per day mark, okay? You've been doing that for a good solid 3 weeks now. 14, 15, maybe 16 grams, somewhere around in there. Well, let's say you have a weak little bender. Let's say on a weekend, or you go out of town for a couple of days and you end up taking more. Let's say you have a couple of days where you do like 20, 25 grams, maybe even really go ham one day and you go 30 grams. And you're like, a lot of people look at that like, damn, well, there goes my taper. No, not really. And for me, if I don't pass that 2-day mark, and I know this is bargaining, what you're doing now is bargaining with addiction. And truly, there really is no bargaining with addiction. The addiction is still there. It's still something you always have to be aware of, and you're always going to have to work and seek to control it, right? If you're using something like Kratom and you are actually dependent on it and addicted to it. So I'm not saying that. This is no cure for addiction, okay? It's no cure. But it's a mindset thing to where if you're looking to come off, or if you're looking to lower your amounts to where you're getting in a more healthy range with the Kratom, if you're doing this and then all of a sudden your taper is not linear anymore and it goes over here for a couple of days, or you're up here and then you want to go back down and then you're up here again for a couple of days. If you start doing that, don't think that because you spend a couple of days up here, well, there goes my taper. Now, if I try to go back down to the 14, 15 grams, it's just going to be hell. It's going to be piss on wheels again. No, not really. Because if you've been doing this 14, 15 grams for a good 3 weeks now, your body has become accustomed to that. So if you then go a couple of days a little hard in the paint and go over that with 25, 30 grams, your body in a day, 48-hour mark is not going to have time to then become dependent upon the 30 grams that you used on Sunday, right? It's not. Now, if you go in hard in the paint, you're like, fuck, I've been taking 15 grams for the last 3 weeks, and then today I took 25 grams, and well, yesterday I took 25 grams, today I took another 30 grams, and then you just have this mindset of, oh well, my taper's fucked up now. So then you go and you put 3, 4, 5, then it becomes 7 days, then 9 days, and then 14 days. Next thing you know, you're back on 30 grams for a good 2 weeks. That's long enough to become dependent on the 30 grams. Is this making sense to you? So it's not always a linear process when you're tapering, okay? And no, it's not the best. The best way to go about it is obviously to stay disciplined and just continue to do this. Continue to do this. Continue to do this till you get where you want to be, whether that's 5 grams a day, you're only taking it once a day, or if you just come completely off of it. Whatever it is, you have to realize that all progress is not lost if you have a couple of weak moments, or even if those weak moments become weak hours or a couple of weak days, where weak, W-E-A-K, days, weak days, you will realize, what you will realize is, as long as you don't put a week, 2 weeks together, 3 weeks together where you've been back on this 30 grams, you should be able to, I'm taking 14, 15 grams for 2 or 3 weeks. You know what? I had a couple of weak moments this past weekend, and I took 30 grams on Saturday and Sunday. Now it's Monday again. I want to go back down to the 14, 15 grams. A lot of people are scared to do that. They think they're going to be in full-on withdrawal again. No. Your body doesn't work that way. If you have tapered yourself to a point where you are used to and accustomed to the 14, 15 grams. In other words, if you've been on the 14, 15 grams for more than, I'd say, 7 to 10 days at that amount, you should be at a point where if one 30-gram day happens, it's not going to completely kill you to immediately drop it back down to 14, 15 grams. You shouldn't have much trouble, you know? Now, I've been through situations before where I went on a bender, and I stayed there for a week and a half, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. If you get over the week and a half mark with a bender, you might as well just throw in your chips. You're using it again. You're using it relentlessly, and you're using it unapologetically, and you're using it not very moderately, right? You got to be able to dial it back, okay? So if you're doing something like a slow taper, my advice to you is, if you have a day or two where your process becomes not necessarily linear, and you backtrack or you backslide a little bit, if you have a couple of things like that happen, which a lot of us do, and a lot of us as drug addicted individuals will have that, don't let that throw you off. Don't let that take your eyes off of your end goal. You can still get back on your taper. If you go ham every once in a while, the point of the matter is, just don't live there. Don't live there, right? Get it out of your system. Stay for a day or two. Come back to your taper or to your reasonable amount, because if you don't, and then if you live there and if you stay there, then you're going to be starting from square one, and then you're going to develop a dependency on that 30 grams again, and then you're going to be starting right at the very beginning of the marathon, and you're going to have to do miles 1 through 25 instead of doing miles 14 through 26. You're going to be starting at mile 1 again, and you're going to have to go to mile 2, mile 3, mile 4, mile 5, mile 6, and time is just going to be stacking up. That's going to be more time that you have to make more mistakes. So the best thing I can tell you, Try to keep it a linear process, your taper. But if you can't do that and you can't find a way to find something else to do, go jog around the block, go shoot basketball, pick up a guitar, go sing, whatever it is that you like to do that you would consider a hobby. Try to do those things to keep yourself away from overusing the Kratom, right? So that you can keep it like this, you know, and then when you get ready to drop it, you can drop it ever so slightly, and then your body's reaction to it is minuscule. It's very minimal. Instead of throwing red flags everywhere, all in your brain and in your body, it's more like a, you know, it's not too bad. I mean, I can tell I dropped a gram, but it's not too bad, right? You'd rather have that than to have the weak moment and then just continue to double down. Weak moment on top of weak moment on top of weak moment on top of weak moment. No, don't do that. And that's and I gotta say, you know, I shouldn't be patting myself on the back, because nobody who's has substance abuse issues should be patting themselves on the back for that. But I will say that I'm a person who, if I have a day or I have 2 days where I use a little extra for whatever reason, I've been really good recently about jumping right back on the taper, you know, not allowing myself more than a day or two to indulge and then going right back to my taper. It's not that bad that way. You can stay about where your current taper is if you don't go if you don't go too hard in the paint for too long. You know, 48 hours. That's the limit. That's the mark. If you're gonna go on some sort of binge or some sort of bender, not that it's advisable, not that I'm advising you to do that. It's not the best thing to do. But if you do, and if you have, don't let that completely ruin your taper. Don't let that completely take your focus off of what your end goal was. Understand? So that's what the talk's about today. I'm going to go ahead and go. Love you guys very much. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do that. My name is Corey, and I'm just a guy on my lunch break. And like the video, and I already said subscribe, do all that stuff, and ring that noti bell as well. All right, guys. Hope you have a good rest of your day. I'll see you next time. Peace.